Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be talking about the books that I read in the month of April. I will try to do a very short wrap-up because I think I read 15 books and I just try to be as quick as possible because I think no one will want to sit here for a long time with me yapping about books. I have a cold, so if you can hear my voice cracking, it's just what it is today. So maybe we just start with the first book that I read in the month of April, and that was my favorite actually book from that month. And it is a biography of Lando Norris by Ben Hunt. For those who don't know, Lando Norris is a Formula One driver, and he is my favorite driver. He is from McLaren, and he's only 24 years old, I think. So it is a little bit strange that he already has a biography about him, but nonetheless it was a very interesting read. It was interesting to see how he ended up in McLaren, and last Sunday he actually was a winner of Miami Grand Prix. It was his first place. So yeah, very happy for him, and I think all Formula One fans are actually very happy for him. He's a very likable guy. So that one was my favorite book of the month, and of course I gave it 5 stars. The next one that I read was by Lucy Foley. It is The Paris Apartment, and I think this book is actually one of my least favorite of the month. I gave it 3 stars, but now that I'm sitting and trying to remember what that book was about, it's very hard to remember. I don't even remember the character names. I think it's Jess and Ben and others, because there were more of them. But in that book we have, of course, Paris Apartment, and we have Jess. She struggles with her life. She has money issues, so she decides to go and visit her brother Ben in Paris, and he's supposed to be the opposite of her. He is wealthy, he has a good job, at least she thinks that about him. But when she goes to stay with him, she finds an empty apartment with just some blood in it and on Ben's phone, I think, and so on. So she starts wondering what had happened. She contacts some of his friends. She tries to find out about him from his neighbors, and all neighbors seems very suspicious. So she starts digging, and the more she digs, the more she gets in trouble. Sounds quite interesting, mysterious. It was a mystery. I can't say that it was a thriller, but it was just very forgettable book for me, at least. I struggled. I listened that on my audio, and if it wasn't for the audio, I doubt that I would just finish that book. I think I would have just DNF'd, but the audio helped. And I can't say much about characters because, like I said, I just forgetting already about that book. The mystery itself, the idea was good, but it wasn't written well. I think I was bored in the majority of the book. I didn't like any of the characters as far as I remember. I wasn't happy with the ending, so 3 stars, generous 3 stars for that one. And it's a shame because I liked other books by Lucy Foley, so I thought that this one will also be one of my favorites, but unfortunately it wasn't. Another one that I read was on my Kindle this time. That one I've got from NetGalley, and it is Take a Moment by Paul Christelis. I gave that one actually 5 stars also, and that book is for children, about being in the moment or being mindful. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's just tips how to be mindful, how to work with your emotions, and how to be present. But I think the tips on how to do that are so good that actually everyone can just try and apply them in their lives, even adults. So yeah, I was very intrigued and interested, and I think I read that book in a few days. It's very easy to read. Of course, it's written for children, and I find a lot of tips for myself. Actually, was a very pleasantly surprised, and I think that this book in particular could be used in kindergartens and schools as a helping hand for teachers to just learn children how to better themselves, or how to just be in the moment, and how to relax, and how to control their feelings and be known with their feelings. Very short review of that book, but nonetheless I was very happy about that one. And next I read The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry, and I went on a roller coaster with this one. How many stars I gave that one? Let me just check. In the end I gave that one 4 stars, and in the beginning of the book I thought of even DNFing it, because first part of the book was quite boring actually. But maybe I just quickly tell you what this book is about. We have a thriller, we have a mystery. It's more of a thriller, domestic thriller, I think. And in this one we have Christopher and Hannah. Christopher is a doctor, Hannah I think is a nurse. They work in the same hospital, and one day a little girl ends up in that hospital. She was found wandering naked, I think in a parking lot or something like that, and she's very malnourished. She was abused, and now everyone tries to find out what happened and tries to help her. And we have Christopher, who has a very good connection with that girl. He convinces Hannah that they should adopt her and give a good home for that girl, and just try to shower her with love, because for a long time Hannah and Christopher tried to have their own children and it just didn't happen. So, and they want to have kids, and why not give a good home for a child in need. So finally they do just that. But after some time Hannah starts seeing that something is not quite right with that girl. What is her name? Janie. And the more she stays at home with Janie, the more she sees that that child is not your typical child. However, Christopher is so I can't say in love with Janie, but he just can't see anything bad about that girl. He just thinks that because of the abuse she got, she just needs more time. And yeah, this book was crazy in a good way. Like I said, first part was a little bit boring for me, and I thought that I end up DNFing it. But from the middle of the book I was hooked, and I just couldn't put that book down. I was so intrigued. I wanted to know what will happen next with that girl, because oh my, she is a force to be reckoned. Not in a good way. I can say just only that Janie is not your ordinary child, definitely. And it was, yeah, like I said, it was interesting to see how that decision of adopting a child will turn their all lives upside down. None of them were so very reliable characters, but I connected with Hannah a little bit more than with other characters, and I was rooting for her. I actually didn't like Christopher because he was so obsessed. He was always obsessed. Actually, yes, he was obsessed with Janie, and in his eyes Janie couldn't do anything wrong, and whatever Hannah tried to say to him he just brushed under the rug. And I didn't like how he talked with Hannah, and that he didn't trust her, and he even didn't try to listen what she was trying to say. And he was always on Jenny's side. No matter what she did, he always found a explanation, and everyone around Janie were the bad guys, but not Janie. So it was frustrating to read about him. So yeah, in the end, I gave it 4 stars. Very happy that I finally read that one. Another one I also listened on audio. It is by Sarah Bailey. Sarah Bailey, is it? Tessa Bailey. Hook, Line and Sinker. And in this one we have a typical summer romance. We have a little town, we have a girl. I don't remember their names at the moment, so I just say girl and guy. I'm not bothered to just check that. This book is a Sunshine and Grumpy. She's a sunshine and he's a grumpy guy, the one who has a bad reputation, the one who sleeps with every woman in the town, and everyone knows that he's that guy, and so on. And they are friends for a long time, and now she's coming back into that town to help film the movie. So she's staying with him. I have no idea why she just chose to stay with him when her sister and her grandmother actually lives in the same town, and I'm pretty sure there would be a place for her to stay in her sister and her grandmother's house, but no, she just decides to stay with him in his apartment. And of course there will be steamy parts, and of course she just salivates when he sees him. And it wasn't a great book to be honest, and I think I just will be parting ways with Tessa Bailey because I already read a few of her books and I just couldn't connect. I didn't like them at all, and in the end I gave that one 2 stars. The way the main girl the main character acted around that guy, it was just like she was a teenager, and she's I think in her mid-20s or something. I think he's in her mid-20s, and it was just silly. She wasn't the smartest cookie in the tin, I think, and he also was one of those that I'm a bad guy, you everyone knows that I'm a bad guy, but actually he wasn't. I didn't like actually I didn't see the connection between them. Everything happened very sudden. One minute they were just friends, another minute they were in love. And happy that I read that book, happy to forget that I read that book, and just like I said, part ways with Tessa Bailey because that author is not for me. So after that I picked up another audiobook. That one will be Granny's Got a Gun by Harper Lynn. I gave that one 3 stars. And in that one we have a former CIA, I think, agent. She's bored with her life. She was used to being active all the time, and now she's just bored to death. And so she is in a reading club, and one day in the middle of discussing a book, one of the members just drops dead. And she of course sees from the beginning that it was a murder. However, all the suspects are elderly, around 70-80 years old, and now she will try to catch the murderer. And of course no one around her knows that she is a former CIA agent, so she just trying to find out what happened. And it was a very short book and a quite funny actually story, cozy mystery. Of course she found out who was the real killer, and why the guy, it was a guy, was killed. Actually there's not much to say about it. It's just old people trying to have fun in their old days and just not be bored with everything around them. It was a first book in the series, however I'm doubting that I will continue. It was okay for me, but nothing special. It didn't hook me on continuing with that series. Maybe one day when I just don't have anything more to listen, I'll just start with the second one. But for those who wants to try reading cozy mysteries, yes, why not start there? It's quite interesting, it's entertaining. Next one was The Wives by Taryn Fisher, and I gave that one 4 stars. It is also a thriller, more maybe mystery than a thriller, and in that one we have Thursday. She's happily married, or she thinks that she's happily married, and her husband actually has 2 more wives. They don't know much about each other, but they know that the other wives exist. And at that time, Thursday is quite content. She is quite happy with her decision to be in that not your so typical marriage. After some times, she starts feeling that it's not okay for her. She wants more. She wants her husband for herself. She wants spend more time with him, and she starts digging about trying to find out about the other wives, why he chose them, and she starts questioning her husband and his decisions to have another wives. And the more she digs, the more interesting things we find out. None of the characters are reliable. You have to question all of them. The ending, I haven't seen the ending coming. For me it was a good plot twist. I was happy with this book. Not that I'm saying that I liked characters, no. I was quite content with how it ended. I liked all the plot twists in this book. I was surprised by them. I didn't know how it will end, and yeah, happy. Definitely give this one a try if you haven't read that. So next one was finally physical. It is Murder Road by Simone St. James. She is a thriller author, a paranormal thriller author. Paranormal thrillers are one of my favorite to read, and she is one of my favorite authors. So when I heard that she's coming with a new book, of course I had to buy it. And I think this one is not that well loved by people, as far as I heard the reviews from other booktubers, book talkers, and so on. None of them likes this book. However, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And in this book we have a couple who is on their way to the honeymoon, and they somehow ends up in a wrong place and the wrong time. They are lost, and they're trying to find out the right way to the place they have to go. And they ended up on a road, a very strange, very spooky road, and it's a night time. And suddenly they see a girl on the road, and they stop, asks if she needs help, and she ends up in their car. And only when she's sitting in their car, they notice blood on her, and someone starts following them, and they are rushing to the hospital. However, that girl dies, and now they are the main suspects of of the murder of that girl. And of course they can't leave the town now. They saw something very strange, at least the husband saw something very strange, and yeah, now both of them wants to find out what actually happened, because they just want to go home. And yeah, ghosts are involved in this book. I liked it. I like spooky books. It was very atmospheric. It gave me 80s vibe. I don't know why. 80s, 90s vibe. Both of the characters, they were flawed. They have their past. They have their baggage. And of course the police starts digging about them. There were some side characters that I really liked. The only thing that I wasn't that happy about this was how it all ended. Not all the questions I had were answered, and the idea of the book was very interesting. However, this time I think it just wasn't what I wanted from it. but nonetheless I gave it 4 stars, so happy with that one. And then I decided to take a pause from reading thrillers, and I picked up a graphic novel. It's a Norwegian edition. I think originally it is written in French. It's called Minte, and we have Lamia, very interesting name. Lamia, who is a schoolgirl. She has a friend, and yeah, everything seems good and fine, and yeah. However, one day she loses her pet, her dog, and after that strange things starts happening in her neighborhood, and of course she wants to know what's going on, and she and her friends try to find the answers. The art style was very cute. It was very easy to read and interesting. Very quick book. I gave it 4 stars. Next one was also a graphic novel, but this time I gave that one 1 star. It's a Norwegian book, Dead End, by Endre Lund Eriksen or Sigbjørn Lilleng, and in English it would sound something like death, and the serious facts about death. And the art style is okay, something like that. It's black and white. Maybe I'm just not in the right headspace at the moment, but book about death, about illness, about people dying, and it wasn't for me. I didn't like it. I was triggered reading that one, and it should be for kids, and I think every child who will try to read this book will have night terrors and nightmares, and yeah, I don't recommend reading it for children, and I don't recommend reading it for adults as well. So I don't think that I will throw it away, but definitely I will be unhauling this one from my house. I don't even want to look at it. That's how much I didn't like it. The next one was by Mary Kubica, and it was The Local Woman Missing. So in this one we have people don't just disappear without a trace. Shelby Tebow is the first to go missing. Not long after, Meredith Dickey and her 6-year-old daughter Delilah vanished just blocks away from where Shelby was last seen, striking fear into their once peaceful community. Are these incidents connected? After an elusive search that yields more questions than answers, the case eventually goes cold. Now, 11 years later, Delilah shockingly returns. Everyone wants to know what happened to her, but no one is prepared for what they'll find. In this smart and chilling thriller, master of suspense and a New York Times best-selling author Mary Kubica takes domestic secrets to a whole new level, showing that some people will stop at nothing to keep the truth buried. That's the description of the book, and I gave that one 4 stars. The beginning was very strong, for me at least. I was very intrigued from the first page. However, the ending was just too much, I think. It's definitely unrealistic, in my opinion. The twist, the last twist of the book, if you have read it, I think it's unrealistic. If you have read that book, tell your opinion about it, because for me it's the placement and the way how long it took, and to no one noticed that thing for that long is just, come on. Is it possible? I don't think so. So that's why I gave it only 4 stars. And another thing that I noticed in this book, that there was plot twist after plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, almost in the end, towards the end. Almost in every single page there was some twisting, and I think for me it was almost too much to follow. In the end I just lost interest almost in some of the things that was happening. I just wanted that book to end. Now that I'm thinking, I think it's more 3 stars from me than 4, but oh well, I will be generous. Let's just say that it stays on 4 stars. And next one is also a audiobook. It is by Alice Feeney, Rock, Paper, Scissors. And there we have a couple who tries to save their marriage, and they decide to go on a trip, on a weekend together. Just leave all social medias, all phones, everything behind, and just try to save the marriage. So they end up in a very old house. I think it's made from, in the past it was a chapel maybe, but now it's a house in the middle of a snowstorm, and that house is very spooky and almost gothic like. The place and the vibe that this book gave it was very, so to say, spooky and Halloween almost. That thing I really liked, and I was hooked. Like I said, I like all paranormal books, and I thought that maybe there can be something paranormal happening in that book, but it didn't. However, it was very intriguing. Both of the characters, they got on my nerves at times. Things happened there, very strange, mysterious things. They found out more about each other than they thought that they will. They were both very unreliable characters. You couldn't trust any of them. Happy to have read this one. Another one is a very popular book. It's The Housemaid by Freda McFadden, and it has a very high rating on Goodreads. However, I wasn't a fan of this book. I won't be reading the next books in the series, and I gave it generous 3 stars. Actually, now that I'm thinking, it's more 2 stars from me. We have a girl, Millie. She needs a job, she needs money, she needs a place to live, because now she's living in her car, and she has a past that past doesn't let her find a normal job, to be honest. So she's willing to take any job possible, and she ends up working as a housemaid in Winchester House. That house is strange. That family is unhinged, especially Nina Winchester. At least we made believe that Nina Winchester is a very unhinged woman. She contradicts herself. She contradicts everything that she said to Millie, and Millie almost feels like she's going crazy, and something finally happens. And we have a mystery, we have a domestic thriller, we have a domestic mystery, and I was bored. I just can't see why people like this book that much. It feels like I read something like that many times already. I saw all the plot twists and the ending from miles away, and I just it dragged so much in this book, and I just tried my best to just be finished and be done with that book, and I had to force myself to pick this one up. I didn't connect with the characters. I didn't care what will happen. I don't know why last month I was so generous with giving stars, but yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was okay-ish. I finished it, and I'm happy that I finished this book. Also, I read One Sweet Holiday by Lucy Day. That one I read on my Kindle. It was a art from NetGalley, so thank you very much to NetGalley for giving that book to me. In this one we have Opposites Attract in this sweet holiday rom-com. But will this small town sweetheart and a sexy stranger be a perfect match for a recipe for disaster? It's the most wonderful time of the year, unless you're me. Hold the high rides, keep your cocoa, and don't put me within a country mile of mistletoe. This year, Christmas means chaos. My sister is getting married, and I, Gwen Griffin, perfectionist extraordinaire, will make sure her wedding is flawless. That includes doing the impossible, finding myself a wedding date. But in my tiny hometown of Jasmine Falls, South Carolina, I'll have better luck winning the lottery. I may be awesome at running my cafe, but I'm terrible at men, and after my last epic breakup, everyone in town knows it. That's why I need a plus one, even a fake one, so that when my sister gets married, everyone's attention is on her where it belongs. The guy next door is perfect for the job. Gorgeous and charming, Logan Fife is only here for a few weeks. He is also a hot Scottish bazillionaire who's totally out of my league, so my risk of falling into a relationship with him, less than zero. Pretending to date Logan is the perfect plan until it isn't. Beneath his devilish smirk and delicious brogue is a big-hearted man who makes me feel the one thing I never believed to be true, that I'm enough just the way I am. With the wedding approaching, there's nothing fake about my feelings anymore. When he slips his arm around my waist and whispers into my ear, yeah, I'm goner. We may be worlds apart, but I'm done pretending. It's time to get real, even if it means risking my heart. What can I say about this book? As I wrote in my... I'm sitting on the ground, so I can't feel my legs anymore. So I'm just trying to find a position to be comfortable. Sorry for that. However, like I wrote in my review, I have a mixed feelings about this book. In the end, I gave it 4 stars, but at first I thought of DNFing it because there were some things that irked me. Actually, first thing, as far as I remember, is that from the first sight, Gwen was almost salivating by seeing Logan, to the point where she dropped things from her hand, her knees wobbled, and so on and so on. And she is in her 30s. Come on, you already saw a man. It feels like she was locked away from the society and the humans, and now it's the first time she saw the opposite sex. So it was a little bit too much. I think it was a little bit too insta-levy for me. And another thing that bothered me the most, I think, is the repetitiveness of the word mercy. And that word mercy was used like a sentence. One word was a sentence. For example, Logan come and say something to her. For example, I'm going grocery shopping, and she was, mercy. He's so beautiful, mercy. That mercy, I even started counting that word. I lost the count of it actually, but you can play the drinking game with that word. So it was too much. It was overused in that book. It definitely needs to be edited out. It doesn't give anything. It shouldn't be in that book at all. From now on, I just don't like that word anymore. Mercy. So that one. However, from the middle, around the middle of the book, I fell in love with that book actually. Not that fell in love, but changed my opinions, and yeah, I gave it 4 stars in the end. I connected with the Gwen in some level because she's overthinker and she stresses a lot unnecessary. She pushes herself to the limits and over the limits. She sacrifices herself for others but doesn't think about herself, and that is very relatable, at least for me. So it was interesting to see that depicted in the book. And also I liked how sweet Logan was with her, how protective, and however it wasn't possessive, he was very respectful of her and he respected all her decisions. He just wanted to help her and he was rooting for her all the time, all the way. So yeah, very happy with how it ended. We all know how it ended. Rom-coms end in the same way, almost all of them. So yeah, very sweet, cute, nice holiday romance, and I recommend reading it around Christmas time. It's perfect for that. And the last one I read was a memoir by Britney Spears, The Woman in Me. I gave it 4 stars. It was a very quick read. It has a huge font and huge margins, so I flew through that book. There were things that I learned, new things that I didn't know, of course, but majority of the things I already knew about her. I actually never thought that I will read this memoir. I never was a fan of Britney. I liked some of her songs, but wasn't that one who was interested in her life that much. But I heard a lot of good and interesting things about that book, so I was intrigued. And where was I? My battery decided to just die on me, so I don't remember what I have said about this one. However, I read it. I gave that one 4 stars. I liked it. I don't think that she written that book. I think there was maybe a ghostwriter involved. Doesn't feel like it could be her from what I saw or heard about her now on all social medias. Yeah, she was definitely abused by her family. However, and it will be a very unpopular opinion, I think she tends to blame everyone about her problems, but doesn't seem to grasp that she also somehow is sometimes responsible for things she is doing. And I know that her family wasn't the best, but before everything happened, from the beginning of that book, you can see that she just doesn't see that her own decisions impact what's happening to her. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes. Now I know that she's just broken woman, and she definitely will need a lot of therapy, I think, to just get back on her feet. And I wish her well. God knows, I wish her well. And I think that at least now everyone should just leave her alone and just let her heal in her own way. And hopefully someday we will see a new, healed and safe and happy Britney again. So that was some of the books I have read, at least my physical books that I read in the month of April. I'm very happy with how much books I managed to read. Definitely the reading vlog that I did helped with reading a lot of books as well. At least now I'm in a reading slump, and it's already the 6th, 7th of May, and I haven't read that much. I think I only finished listening for 1 book. So at least for now doesn't feel like I will read 15 books for the month of May, but we will see in the end of the month. So thanks for sitting with me in this unhinged wrap-up. I'm not a very good reviewer. I don't even like that much doing the wrap-ups, but what can I say more? I'm trying to do my best. So yeah, thank you very much for sitting with me, for listening to me yapping, and hopefully you will stick around and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and that will be it for now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!